Hi, hello, and if you're new to the channel, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. Now, you may wonder what I'm walking along here. This is actually a First World War trench in England. This was a training trench that was dug by soldiers in the First World War. They came here, they came out of London to Marlow, a place called Marlow Common, and dug these training trenches. There's quite a complex of them around here, and they're quite, remarkable. It's very sad to think about, the guys coming out from London, digging these, and then being shipped off to France and possibly being killed out there. It's very, very sad indeed, but it's an interesting place to visit. So obviously, I'm not on a canal, but we've still got sort of a ditch-like thing going on here. Now, in the last video, I looked at the Grand Canal in Dublin, and this video is the second video. It was all originally going to be one video, but it became too long. The second video is looking at the Royal Canal, and the Royal Canal, similar design and structure as you'll see to the Grand Canal, and also it has some rather interesting features. So hopefully you'll enjoy this video. Anyway, let's have a look at the Royal Canal in Dublin. But first, I'm going to kick off with a rather weird diving bell thing that I found on the quayside there, which I think you might find a bit interesting. Anyway, enjoy. And so here I am back at the Grand Canal. I want to keep calling it the Grand Union Canal for some reason, can't think why. And yesterday I walked that way behind me up the canal to about lock 6 or 7 and was surprised by how few boats I saw. Today, weather's different, not sunny, overcast due to rain later, but I'm going in search of the Royal Canal, which runs north out of Dublin. The Grand Canal runs south. So let's go and see what's going on with the Royal Canal. Now, with these canals, I've done very little or no research beforehand, so what you're getting is basically my reaction to them, what they're like, what I think when I first see them. So today I'm off to find the Royal Canal. So today's route starts at the diving bell down on the River Liffey quayside, moves north along the canal past Croke Park, and then finally finishes up at the train station at Broombridge. Total distance for this walk is, I think, around about 3.5 to 4 miles. So let's see what we can find. Okay, so here I am back down on the River Liffey. Behind me is the diving bell, and I believe the entrance to the Royal Canal is just across the way there, over by the large bridge you can see, and there's that sort of grey bridge structure that you can see as well. That's, I think, the entrance into the Royal Canal. Now this is interesting. I found it down on the quayside on the river. It's a diving bell dating from 1865. It was used to do building work on the bed of the river and in the docks area. Men descended into the bell through the airlock in the hatch that you can see directly above, and then the bell was lowered to the bed of the river or the dock or wherever they were working. Suspended from the ceiling were large trays which they shoveled the mud from the bottom of the river or the dock, and then when those trays were full, the bell was moved to one side so those trays could be emptied into another part of the river or dock area. Must have been quite terrifying to work in such an environment. And in 1865, my guess is health and safety wasn't a top priority. But anyway, found this on the quayside down by the river. Quite interesting, an unexpected find. A really interesting piece of history. Now this bridge is an interesting structure. I guess it's a swing bridge because it seems to have a large pivot point near this bank, and there's these sort of protective devices, sort of bollards out in the river to protect that pivot point. So yeah, as I say, I reckon this swings open. It must be impressive when it does so. I'd hate to operate this swing bridge with a windlass. Yep, clearly a swing bridge. You can just see this sort of section that would move around here when the bridge opens. Well, if that bus wasn't there. There you go, you can see it curving there across the road. Yes, this is the entrance to the Royal Canal. Interesting bridge here, kind of reminds me of Pegasus Bridge. You'll know that bridge if you know anything about D-Day. Okay, so this is the start of the Royal Canal, built in 1817, I believe. This canal heads north out of Dublin and then goes west. Again, no boats around. Although very impressive lock gates in front of me. Well, this is Spencer Lock at the start of the Royal Canal. Okay, so here on the Royal Canal we've got a lift bridge, one that I'd hate to operate with a windlass. I guess it's electric now if it indeed ever opens. And pretty much any boat could get through that once it's open. Little limit on width, but pretty much any height. However, here we've got a more permanent type of bridge, a concrete bridge, which really limits the height of any boat coming down here and also limits the width, as does the lift bridge. So I don't know, still no boats. Quite odd. Now, interesting sculpture here. I really like the hair on it. It's Luke Kelly, 1940 to 1984. Now, the lift bridge really does look like it hasn't been open for a long, long time. Plus, there's also a sort of pipe or a bar or something going across, which would limit the height of a boat going through it to about the height that we have further down at the concrete bridge. Okay, so here we are walking along the Royal Canal. Yep, looks like a canal, very high sides here, steps going down to the water. No sign of boats or anything really. Let's go on to a lock or two and see if I can find anything happening up there, or even if I can find a boat on this canal. Okay, so here I am at the first lock on the Royal Canal and the start of the Royal Canal Way, which is a footpath. I'm not entirely sure where it leads, but there's signs pointing down the canal. Looks like a fairly standard lock. Doesn't look like it's been used in a long time. Not entirely sure what these large posts are for. Got lockkeeper's cottage opposite and a standard lock with balance beams and what looks like paddles on it. Whether or not it's operational, I don't know. But anyway, first lock on the Royal Canal. The gates seem to be in good order and it looks like they could be operated, so there's no reason I can see why this lock couldn't still be in use. Now, this is interesting. Yesterday on the Grand Canal I passed numerous bridges and none of them were what I'd call proper canal bridges. They didn't have a towpath that went under them. Here on the Royal Canal I've got a bridge with a towpath going under it, so you could use horses to tow your barges along this stretch of canal. Nice bridge. Wow, that's one impressive stadium next to the canal. What a structure, fantastic. Interestingly, the Royal Canal has a very similar sort of structure to the Grand Canal. We've got that sort of 45-degree bank on that far side. And interestingly, the railway line is pretty much at the same level as the water there. So if that bank failed, you get a very wet railway track. Now, this is interesting. Here we've clearly got a sort of pontoon for boats to moor at. So boats must come down here, otherwise why put in a pontoon? And just beyond the pontoon, sort of up near that bridge, I can see another set of lock gates with water absolutely pouring over them. And what is interesting about these lock gates is directly behind them, and I don't know if you can see this, it's probably too far away, is what looks like another set of lock gates with water pouring over them. So is this a staircase lock that we've got here? An interesting sign of the lock. Now, I don't know if you can hear me above the rushing water, but this is a staircase lock with a bridge over one of the locks. Water is really pouring over the top here, over this first gate, this lower gate, and also the upper gate as well. Again, it looks like this lock could be used. It looks functional. Still no sign of any boats though. Wow, the sound here in the bridge over the staircase lock is absolutely incredible. I doubt that you can hear me. Okay, so this is the upper lock of that staircase, and it looks like there's more locks just a short way up here, just beyond this pound. Water certainly flowing through here. Again, it looks like this lock could be operated. It's interesting that it's got the sort of winch and pulley system at the end there to open those lock gates, because they're so close to the bridge that they can't put a balance beam on them. I wonder when this lock was last used. Okay, so I've just twigged what these rather posh looking mooring pontoons are for. They're the lock landings. Very nice lock landings. Okay, so that's looking down the Royal Canal back towards sort of Dublin centre with the stadium in the background. And then over here we've got what is labelled Lock 3, and it's another staircase. Not so much water pouring over this one, and it looks like that in the upper lock they are doing some work. Again, it looks like this lock is in fairly good order. It would work. So boats must come down here. Do boats come down here? Still no sign of any boats anywhere, but I'll continue on to see if I can find some. Okay, so the boat here in the upper lock is for skimming weed and stuff off the surface of the canal. Okay, so interesting, that lock there with the skimming boat in it has a lock on it, so no boat could have got through there even if they wanted to. Now that was the second set of double locks on this. We've now got another pound and looks like another double set of locks, staircase locks coming up. And I do like these posh lock landings that they have here, very nice indeed. It's just a shame there's no boats around. But with that lock locked, that could explain why. Okay, coming up to another double staircase lock with the lock landing actually in use. It's the skimmer from the earlier lock. Okay, another double lock with what looks like another double lock just after it. I don't know if you can hear me above the rushing water and the traffic here. Now, still no sign of boats. I'm going to continue on a little bit further to see if I can sort of get to the end of these double locks and then decide what to do. Will I see a boat? Now, this pound between these two sets of double locks looks like somewhere boats could moor. Nice bank, low side, however, nowhere to tie up to, nowhere to get pins in, so I guess that's why there's no boats moored here. Nothing to moor to. It's very odd. Long stretch of canal, not a single boat. Okay, so this is lock number 6, and it may not in fact be a double. I thought it was a double when I was coming up, but it may not be. It doesn't look like there's another lock directly, but oh yes there is. I can see it now, I can see the balance beam. Okay, so this is lock number 6. It's a fair old rise that these locks have gone up. The locks are quite deep and there's quite a lot of them. I wonder if this is the last set of double locks. Let's go have a look. Yep, I think it is, you know. I think this is the last set of double locks. There's nothing obvious ahead of me and still no boats. Lovely little, what I would think is a lockkeeper's cottage over the side there. Some interesting buildings around. Well, I'll walk on a little bit further and see if I can see a boat. Doesn't look hopeful though. Actually, I think I'll cross over the lock here. Now, it's interesting to me, the Royal Canal has a completely different feel to the Grand Canal on the south side of the city. The Grand Canal on the south side of the city almost feels like it's a sort of water feature running through people's gardens at times. But this canal feels like it's a canal, and yet I still see no boats on it. I thought there was a boat just up ahead, And actually I think it's a car parked on the side of the, what would be, I guess, the towpath here. Okay, so that was a car that I could see. I thought it was the back of a boat. Anyway, crossing over to this side of the canal was a good thing to do because the towpath on the other side finishes. However, that does leave me with a problem in that I need to be on the other side of the canal because I want to head back down into the city centre. And the city centre is over to my left. It's not on this side. So I'm going to have to continue along until I get to some bridge or some crossing further down here. Okay, so this is lock 7 and this is actually a single lock. Still no sign of any boats. Looks like the lock's in operational order. And there's a bridge up ahead which I think I can use to get back across the canal and then head down into Dublin city centre. Okay, so I've walked, I would guess, 2 to 3 miles, possibly a little bit further along the Royal Canal, and I've still not seen any boats, and looking ahead of me, I can't see any boats. So I'm going to give up on my quest to find boats on this canal. I don't know where they are. If you know where they are and why I'm not seeing any boats, please let me know in the comments. It is a bit of a mystery. Okay, so that was the Royal Canal in Dublin. And as you can see, I'm still at these First World War trenches in a wood in southern England. Now, I found the canals of Dublin really interesting. They were built around the same time as the canals in the UK, so they were part of that massive canal expansion that occurred, and it was the same idea to move goods around. The Grand Canal, which I keep wanting to call the Grand Union Canal, went south out of Dublin and joined up with the sort of rivers and waterways of Ireland, and the Royal Canal sort of went north and west out of Dublin and joined up with waterways as well. I like looking at the canals. They were very interesting, similar locks, slightly different sort of structure with those sloping 45-degree banks, not the sort of straight down bank we see in the canals in the UK. But the thing I found most odd was the complete lack of boats. There seemed to be no sort of canal community. I was expecting to see sort of clusters of narrow boats or boats in the centre of Dublin or towards the centre of Dublin, and I didn't find any of that. And if you know why that is the case, why they haven't sort of got that culture, that community over there on the canals, please let me know in the comments, because I'd be fascinated to know what happens with these canals. What are they used for? Well, obviously leisure, but there's just no boats on them. It was a real surprise. Anyway, hopefully you found this sort of exploration of the canals of Dublin interesting. If you did, don't forget to give it a big like, a big thumbs up, and or if you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing. On the screen now, you'll see a QR code. If you scan that QR code, it'll take you through to a free newsletter about the grey wagtail, and there's also a link to it in the description. Anyway, thanks for watching for this long. I look forward to your comments on these videos and about the canals that I explored in Dublin. Again, thanks for watching for this long. Bye for now.